Hey everybody, it's Steve. This is not going to be a typical Surviving Mars video, mainly because I'm going to be talking about the Da Vinci patch. So this was announced last week, last week of July, first week of August, and it said it was going to be released soon. That was their word, soon in quotation marks. Well, it is August 6th when I'm recording this, and Da Vinci was released early this morning. I do want to talk about the Da Vinci patch notes. I also want to talk about the new one that's going to be coming out in the next patch. This one's going to be called Sagan. And let's see, stress-reducing features, a lot of that stuff. So the Sagan update for the explorer who felt that surviving the inhospitable desert of Mars was simply too easy will launch for all platforms in September. This is what Paradox said in an email. 30 major challenges to overcome, a new level of difficulty for the hardcore survivalist who's ready to take a running start at everything the red planet can throw at them. Whether you like to stop and smell the barren wastelands of Mars or are raring to discover new ways to doom your dome, Surviving Mars' upcoming updates will have adventures for every kind of player. Both updates are free of charge, and they haven't given a lot of updates on Sagan, but they do have plenty of information on Da Vinci, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. If I can zoom in a little bit here. Nope, can't zoom in right now. I made it zoom in on the video itself. But the new thing on the Da Vinci update, creative mode. It's essentially a full-on sandbox mode. Easy maintenance. Buildings do not malfunction due to lack of maintenance. Again, this is only in the creative mode. Easy research. Start with an additional 3,000 research per soul and all base techs revealed. Rockets travel 10 times faster. Sector scanning is 10 times faster. Buildings do not require resources to be constructed, but they still have construction time. Colonists cannot lose health or sanity below 50, and they cannot become earthsick. 500 additional applicants, and you'll start with an 100,000 million or 100 billion in funding. Some of the new rules will disable all achievements. So I believe there's a couple of achievements. What's a Google, which is having 100, or I think it's a million in funding. That's one of the options there as well. New features, desired amounts in depots and storages. You can now set desired amounts in storages and depots. Drones will try to keep at least the desired amount of resources in depots and storages, taking resources from other storages if need be. There's a new UI. Rework the UI of depots and storages to allow the disabling of resources in depots more easily. This is something I learned about in, I believe it's today's episode. Episode 7, I finally learned about that. Maybe episode 8. You can also disable resources in all depots of the same type via control click. Changes the power networks. Adjacent power producers and consumers will now connect to each other without the need for a cable. So those rare metals hubs, now hopefully I can just mass them and just have one cable going in and it should connect to everybody else. A new feature, follow camera for vehicle and colonists. Follow camera is activated from the selected unit info panel. Follow camera removes all UI until deactivated. So it's kind of cool if you just want to follow one shuttle around or one drone around. Balance changes. This is some awesome changes to the balance of the game that I like. Let's just start here at the top. Reworked default initial rocket cargo for all spawns to include a Stirling generator prefab and more drones for faster starts. You've seen some of my starts and probably seen some other starts where it takes a long time for the colony to get going because they don't have the drones or resources needed to get everything up and running quickly. Reduce the construction cost of many buildings to reduce the amount of resources being carried by drones and to improve game pacing. It does not say what buildings they are, and we'll definitely be exploring that in an upcoming video. I've already recorded episode 8 as of today, so that'll be going out on Wednesday. Episode 9 will be the first one I record post Da Vinci, and that'll be coming out on Friday with the scheduling as it is right now. Increase speed of drones by 20%. Techs that increase speed of drones have their effects slightly reduced. We also have drone battery capacity increased to reduce how often drones need to recharge. Pup314, I know you've been commenting on that on a lot of my videos. Initial battery of drones randomized to avoid having all drones run out of battery at the same time. Reduced fuel needed to refuel a rocket to 50. Usually it's 60, then it goes down to 40 with tech. Now it's 50, 30 with tech. Paradox sponsor goes from 100 to 80 and then 60 with that technology. Shuttles require less fuel to operate. I think it was also my Paradox colony. It was always the fuel hubs, the shuttle hubs. Like, I don't have fuel. That's all the bleeping was. I could have 1,000 fuel refineries going right next to the fuel hub, and they'd be like, yeah, I don't have any fuel. Reworked applicant generation, so the starting pool of applicants is of greater importance. Sponsors with larger starting pools will continue to have more applicants down the line. Increase the effects of the celebrity and genius trait, so they now have requirements. Genius colonists will grant research points if their sanity is high. Celebrities will grant funding if their comfort is high. Electronics factory, oh my god, they listened. They listened to us. Paradox listened to the community. Electronics factory now requires maintenance of 2 machine parts instead of 3 electronics. That is some awesome news right there. Also talking about the electronics factory, increased power consumption of the electronics factory and the polymer plant to 10. The maintenance of smart homes has been reduced. Outsourcing. This was something I took massive advantage of during the Paradox colony. I've done it a little bit in Space Y and St. Elmo's Fire so far. Outsourcing now limited to 5 orders at one time. So what I was doing in the Paradox colony, just burning through research and burning through money as quick as I could, I'm not going to be able to do that as much anymore. The tourist trait has finally been reworked. This is one we always have the thumbs down on in my gameplays. It now grants 10 million in funding when a colonist arrives. The tourist will stay for 5 sols and then leaves on the next rocket to Earth. When the tourist leaves Mars, they generate 2 new tourist applicants. So we could actually make a colony that's just based on tourism and have a tourism dome. Working medical buildings provide a birth rate boost bonus for the next 24 hours. I don't know if that's going to be a cumulative thing, or I'm just reading that one over again. Not sure exactly how that one's going to work. Maybe if we have like the medical buildings working constantly, we might get the birth rate boost going continuously. I'm not sure on that one. This is what I'm kind of excited about, actually. City Mayor. This is a new commander profile. 2 billion in funding, additional starting funding. Buildings require upkeep less often, and Mars Nouveau. This is a technology that usually costs somewhere in the order of 15 to 20,000 research points. Building costs in metal and concrete are reduced by 20%. That's a start. That's an awesome commander profile to start off with. Imagine that with Paradox. With Paradox Interactive, you get that neocrete, which essentially eliminates the need for concrete. Add a new game rule. Increased production. Base production of all resources is doubled. I'm not sure what it's going to do to the difficulty, but we do have some difficulty changes. Endless supply game rule now lowers difficulty by 200 instead of 25. That makes sense because it makes the game very easy. Chaos Theory game rule now lowers difficulty by 50 instead of increasing it. I agree with that one because, again, I still think Chaos Theory is a bit of a game breaker when you get something like the crowdfunding super early. Disaster changes. We finally got some of those as well. Cable faults and pipe leaks now happen only during dust storms or as a result of dust devils and meteor strikes. Their effect has been increased, but the repair time is much faster. So we're not going to get those random cable faults and pipe leaks unless we're in the middle of a disaster. When a disaster first starts in each playthrough, we're going to get a pop-up message describing the effect of each disaster. Solar panels are going to be disabled during dust storms. They're not even going to be operating. They're just going to shut down. We're out. Buildings left without power during a cold wave now freeze 3 times slower. In previous gameplays, if it was off for a single shift, it would instantly freeze up before that next shift starts. Now it's after 24 hours. Health and sanity damage, suffocation, dehydration, and freezing effects from disasters are now randomized. Colonists will now die or have a sanity breakdown gradually during an emergency rather than all at the same time when time runs out. This next one I am a little intrigued by, but a little scared by. It's probably a good thing. Lightning strikes and electrostatic dust storms have been fixed and will now disable buildings for 24 hours rather than 4 hours. They will also drain power accumulators they hit. So batteries, the atomic accumulators, if they get hit by a dust storm or a lightning strike, you're going to lose a lot of power real quick. Some general fixes: added new construction colorization of building placement cursor orange to indicate possible placement of a building outside drone controller range. Autosave count and interval settings added in options in the gameplay submenu. Buildings inside a dome are turned off when the dome is turned off. So you turn off one, you turn it all off. That's really helpful. Colonists can now eat from stockpiles in connected domes when starving. Didn't realize they weren't doing that initially. Night shift sanity loss introduced for training buildings. I introduced the MIS in a recent episode, maybe in today's episode, maybe episode 8. I was thinking, maybe I should put the training buildings 24 hours. This will actually introduce a sanity loss for that. Fix for passages, not returning resources when salvaged. People destroy, I guess some people, I've done it a couple times, gotten rid of salvages. Terrain is properly restored after demolishing a geoscape dome. I think it has that little hub in the middle still when you bring her down. The Sterling General no longer take more dust than intended. Funding is now properly modified by global modifiers. The large water tank now freezes and defrosts for the same time as the basic water tank. Of course, a subsurface heater will counter that effect. Constructions in domes, no longer affected by cold areas. I think just the dome itself will be affected by it. Fixed the Renegades counter in the info bar at the top. That's kind of helpful. Supply grid now properly reconnects through a passage. I'm not sure actually what that one will do. But fixed unintended disabling of some buildings by ion storms. We do have some UI changes as well. The GDPR notice has been removed. They're even saying rejoice. Essentially, every bloody time you go into a website over the last about, I want to say 4 months or so, you'd get the GDPR notice. I'm going to just pull what the GDPR name means. Because GDFR means going down for real. The General Data Protection Regulation. It's an EU law that pretty much everybody had to fall in line with. Fixed various scrolling problems. UIs are now scrollable instead of using pages. That's helpful. Kind of like here, I'm on the Steam page doing this right now. Fixed various scrolling no, you heard that one. Added new key bindings for tilting the camera up and down. F and G will now tilt that camera for you. Clicking on icons in the info bar now cycles through stored resources, free jobs, free residences, unemployed, and homeless colonists. And that's kind of cool. Wind turbine production boost during dust storms now indicated in the info panel. That's going to be helpful. Command center graphs timely update. Renegade morale no longer visible in command center. Okay. Great selection in schools fixed. Yellow decals no longer remain stuck on the Martian surface. Added low storage notifications and removed duplicate other notifications. Domes without life support notification replaces separate notifications about dome problems. I think it's a dome that I'm building in, again, either episode 7 or episode 8, where we have a power shortage, we have an oxygen shortage, we have a water shortage. It's now, we have a dome without life support, as I'm assuming what it's going to be. Added a list of problematic buildings as the rollover of buildings not working notification. Kind of helpful. All ground vehicles are collectively called rovers. The old RC Rover is now named the RC Commander. I'll probably change it to Cobra Commander if it updates in my game. Change displaying of collaboration loss in research buildings. Power percentage is no more visible for pinned rovers after Rover Command AI gets researched. So on the bottom, you'll have, like, they all say 100%, but Rover Command AI just gets rid of it. Fixed control click for not setting desired specialization in all Martian universities. Added resource conversion ratio in the info panels of factories. Added queue first option in the sector scanning queue. Oh, so almost like a control click thing. If we have to, like, we need to scan this one real fast. Maybe control click will actually bump it to the top of the list. Added disabled residential slots stat in the info bar. And the info bar now lists the different sources of funding for the last Sol and how much funding was gained from them. Added space communism. Space communism. Not sure what that one does. Maybe we'll figure that one out. It's not communism, because that's a U, that's not an O. Also have new mod, added radio station mod item and related documentation for it. This is from August 1st. Boyan Spazov dropped some information about creative mode in this one. And you can just head into the news section of the Surviving Mars game. You can actually go through and read all this extra information if you're interested in it. That's going to wrap it up for this quick little explainer on the DaVinci patch notes. Episode 8 was recorded before RTX and before the patch notes came out, so it'll be pre-DaVinci. Episode 9, again, scheduled to come out on Friday. That'll be the first episode I record post-DaVinci. Also be talking about RTX in a subsequent video. I'm going to record one for Tuesday, probably going to be Slay the Spire. I also have a Command & Conquer Kane's Wrath video that I recorded during RTX that I need to get out, so that may be a double video on Tuesday. Let's see. Actually, no. I'll be talking about RTX probably in Thursday's Slay the Spire video. I'll put Command & Conquer out on Tuesday, bump Slay the Spire out of its normal Tuesday, Thursday time slot, just to kind of get things back on track. So I do have a backlog of videos from before RTX. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoy the videos that come out on my channel. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next video.